This conference is not just about today. It's not just about the head knowledge that we receive from today's speakers. It's very much as well about what you do next. Where do you take the information that you've been given today? How do you turn that into action? How can we make a difference? How can we bring about change to make sure that we do combat HIV, AIDS, malaria, TB, other diseases? What can we do as responsible global citizens to make a difference and to be world changers?
At Vine Trust, one of the things that we encourage people to do is to volunteer on one of our overseas trips to Peru or Tanzania, where we work with some of the marginalised communities providing healthcare and homes for vulnerable children, many of whom have been orphaned due to the HIV and AIDS pandemics. In Peru, our Amazon Hope project operates out of a medical boat which provides primary health care to isolated communities along the tributaries of the River Amazon. We have teams of nurses, doctors, dentists, pharmacists, and opticians who volunteer alongside Peruvian staff in helping provide this health care. And currently, we have a ship arriving in Kisumu in Tanzania that will provide health care for the 150 inhabited islands who currently receive little or no primary health care. And they have no access to simple medicines to help treat things like diarrhea or colds.
But you don't have to be a medical professional or a volunteer, or a medical professional to volunteer with Vine Trust. We do also have teams of volunteers throughout the year who go out to Peru and Tanzania to join what we call a work party, to help build homes for vulnerable children, orphans, and for widows, many of whom are facing desperate living situations because of the impact of ill health on their lives and on their families. Hundreds of school students have also been out to Peru and Tanzania over the last few years with Vine Trust, and it's great to see that we have some of those students with us today. Can you put your hand up if you have been out on a school trip with Vine Trust? People, give us a wave. Great to see you, great to have you with us. Fantastic. We're actually going to hear from two students who went out to Tanzania this summer with Vine Trust to find out what they did and how they got involved with the work that Vine Trust is doing with organisations like Dafrosa's. So I'm also going to ask Dafrosa to come back onto the stage, just so that we can ask them a few questions and find out a little bit more about the trip. So we've got Jamie, and we've got Peter, all the way from Culloden Academy, and we've also got Dafrosa. So please give them a round of applause as they come to the stage. Great. Thank you very much for joining us this morning, or this afternoon now. First of all, can you tell us what you did in Tanzania? How did you help?
The main thing we were going out for was to build houses for the people over there who needed them most. So that was digging the foundations, putting all the rocks in for the houses, passing bricks along in lines. But we also worked in schools as well, played with the children quite a lot, and just helped out in the community in general, really.
That's great. And Peter, could you tell us a little bit about the people that you met when you were out there?
Well, what really struck me, first of all, was how happy they were when we arrived, like how grateful they were that we were all there, and how excited they were to get involved with the work as well. It was amazing to see their faces light up with the smallest wee things. Like we would be like a balloon, and the kids would just be so happy with that. And it was just pretty amazing to see how happy they got with all the smallest little things that we take for granted.
Brilliant. So you were building 3 houses with Taref, with Dafrosa, and also helping on some bigger projects as well, and enjoying playing football as well. How do you feel that the trip has changed you?
I wouldn't say I've dramatically changed as a person. I'm not a massive hippie or anything now. But yeah, I definitely appreciate everything more, and I'm just grateful for everything we have now, really.
It's just made me realise how lucky we are over here to just have everything that we have, and we take it for granted. And it's just made me realise that I should be much more grateful and thankful for everything that we have over here.
Thank you. And maybe if you could just pass the microphone to Dafrosa. Dafrosa, can you tell us what difference having school trips, going to Tanzania from Vine Trust and working with TAREF, what difference does that make to you, to your organisation, to the communities where you're working?
Okay, thank you. Actually, the first difference is that seeing students leaving their schools, spending their holiday time to come and work is a big sacrifice. So the first difference was that it is really possible to see students, young people, even in Africa, to work inside Africa. Because if we have people coming from all over the world to help us, why don't we learn? So the first difference was the learning. But also, our children got to learn about the culture, different cultures. There is a lot of cultural interaction. I think you learned a little bit of Kiswahili. I don't want to ask you here. And our children also improved their language skills within that short time, because through interaction, through playing different types of games, our children got to learn the language. But also to see elder children making difference in the lives of the younger children was also something very, very big. So it showed that it is really possible for youth to help fellow youth. And these people showed it practically.
That's great. And for anybody here, Dafrosa, who's maybe thinking of going out on a school trip with Vine Trust, maybe students or teachers, what would you say to them to encourage them to think about it more?
Yeah, I would like to encourage the students to come, because much as the conditions may not be very, very good as you are used to, people are very friendly. The children are very friendly. I think we experienced that. So please do come, because some people think that in Africa there are wild animals, there are snakes, but those live in the national parks. There are people with big hearts, but they don't have money. They're not as blessed as other people of the world, but they are ready to receive you, work with you, do whatever they can do with you. So
That's
please
great.
feel free to come, and we'll be there to receive you and show you around. Even though our people are not very good at English, they'll be able to talk some broken English, and you'll cope with them.
That's great. Thank you very much, Dafrosa, and also thank you to Peter and to Jamie. Wonderful.
There was a person walking alongside a river, having a nice, peaceful, contemplative walk. But as they walked, they noticed someone in the water. And they weren't just having a swim, they were struggling. This person was in need of help. They needed rescued. And so the person having a nice contemplative walk snapped out of it and went and grabbed a stick, and with that stick they plunged it into the water, and the person who was struggling to survive grabbed the stick and was pulled out. They were both jubilant, they were both relieved. And the person, after helping the person they had rescued dry off and get to safety, continued with their contemplative walk. The next day, they walked alongside the river again, and enjoying the peace and enjoying the warmth of the day, noticed another person in the water and thought, goodness, I have to help this person as well. So again, grabbed a stick, plunged it into the water, and it was grabbed by the person struggling, and they were rescued. And that was fabulous again. A few days later, the person was out for another walk. They valued being out in the open air, and this time when they were walking along the river, there was 2 people in the water. So they had to go and get help, and they had to get a couple of sticks, and they had to get both people out of the water, and they had to rescue both of them. And they managed to, and they were all relieved, and they were all overjoyed. But the person who was walking along the river began to wonder, who is pushing them in upstream? I share that anecdote merely to convey why it is that Christian Aid is not just, even if its name suggests otherwise, an agency that does development or delivers aid, but is also a campaigning organisation. And as much as I can go into specific details of campaigns of effectiveness across the world, not just here in the United Kingdom and Ireland, where local grassroots, and we see a picture here of grassroots, the deep connection that we have to each other here and over the world that can mobilise for change, stories where people have accessed treatment that they've needed to ensure they have a longer life expectancy than their geography would otherwise determine. But I also want to convey that it isn't just about getting involved in those big mobilising moments that we've had over the last few years of the IF campaign and Making Poverty History and getting involved in World AIDS Day. It is about starting where you are, using what you have to do what you can. Currently, Christian Aid is mobilising around the biggest issue that faces our planet. And why do I bring it up on a day that's focusing on health? Because we cannot focus on health as a single issue. We have to place this in the big picture of how our environment is being affected. The incidence of malaria is increasing at higher altitudes due to the effect of a changing climate. But I not only raise that issue, not to add to the plate of issues that you're being handed today, but I add it because I think as a campaign, it has a good ethos. How do you start out, or how do you continue as a campaigner? You do what motivates you. You do what you do for the things that you love. It's the love that motivates us to act. There are a million ways that we can do campaigning. There are a million ways that we can get involved in action, and keeping an eye out for those campaigns is vitally important. But also be creative. Take ownership of your own campaigning, and this is just one initiative we're currently encouraging people to join us on. Join us on a journey of 1 million campaign steps to see change in the world. My time is short, but I want to finish with this quote that has inspired me throughout my life so far since I heard it. And if you've not heard it already, or if you have before, may it continue to inspire us all to be the change that we want to see in the world. The Christian Aid Collective is the main channel for you to get involved in current contemporary campaigns to change the world for the better for all. Thank you.